Welcome to Holistically Speaking. My name is Morella DeVoe. Our guest today is reflexologist John McMahon. Hi, John. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, John, I want to start off the bat, assuming that some of our viewers might not be familiar with what reflexology is. If you could tell us, what is reflexology?
Okay. Reflexology is a science that deals with the principle that there are reflex areas in the feet and hands that correspond to all the organs, glands, and parts of the body. Reflexology is a unique method of using the thumbs and fingers on these reflex areas. So that's what reflexology is.
And so it's both hands and feet.
Correct. But the hands tend to be a little less sensitive because they're always in play and aren't as protected as the feet because we wear shoes and so forth. So your hands tend to be less sensitive to reflexology, but it's an alternate when you have a problem or you have a broken foot or a broken bone in your foot, then we can work on your hand to get around that problem area. So the hands and feet are reflective in the same way, but the hands are a little less sensitive than the feet when it comes to responding to reflexology.
Yeah, I see. I guess that's why I've always associated reflexology with feet and wonderful foot massages.
Correct, yeah.
So you brought something with you that I thought was really interesting, really fascinating, and I think it would be interesting to our viewers as well because it gives some perspective as to where reflexology might be coming from, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to pull that up, this amazing graphic that you have here.
Okay, this was found in a physician's tomb in Egypt dating back to 2550 BCE. Now, this pictogram has the words underneath it saying that the patient was saying, "Please don't hurt me," and the practitioner was saying, "I will work so that you praise me." So that was dated to 2550 BC. So that's how long this reflexology has been around. Even prior to the Egyptians, I would think that the Chinese had reflexologists also, and time goes back more than into the 8,000 or 10,000 years.
Yeah.
So we have no real way of dating when this really started, but there's, at least at this point, we know that 2550 BC is a viable time frame.
And it's really beautiful too.
Yes, it's
look at.
quite, and that's an actual copy of the painting that was on the tomb wall. So that goes to show you that we're not so as advanced as we think we are. There's things that we're just repeating over and over from.
So you haven't been at it that long,
No.
but
No.
but how did you get into reflexology? What brought you to the field?
Well, you know, there was my in-laws are getting elderly now, and they're complaining of aches and pains and having no relief from their doctors. So I said, geez, there's got to be something that can be done to help them along in their journey. Mm-hmm. And I happened to be looking online, and I saw a thing saying reflexology, and I said, geez, I wonder what that's all about. And I researched it further and got to find out what it really entailed. And I said, well, maybe this could be an answer to help my elderly in-laws. And I went and pursued it further and found that there were classes available in instruction in the International Institute of Reflexology in St. Petersburg. So I signed up and got trained by Dwight Byers and his grandson James Pedersen, and it was in the Ingham method of reflexology, started by Eunice Ingham back in the 1930s.
And how has it helped your in-laws?
Well, it actually relieves stress and tension and makes you relax. So that actually has, by unbinding all the muscles and relaxing, it enables the blood to flow better, and nerve impulses from your organs to your brain and so forth are more clearly sent and received. So it brings the body back to balance. So it's not one part of the body is being squeezed and another is being not used at all. So it kind of brings you back into balance where you get equal nourishment of all your organs and glands. So it's effective in that method to bring you back to balance, or homeostasis is what it's called.
Right. So, and then we're going to get into a lot more detail on that because you brought some great charts, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm curious as to whether there's a typical type of client or a type of affliction or something that generally you tend to see more often or is greatly improved by reflexology.
You know, everybody is different, and that's the beauty of life, is that nobody is the same as you, or nobody feels like you feel, because that's your own persona and your own interaction with the life. So there's really not a common, you can't say, well, everybody has this problem or everybody has a particular ailment, but everybody reacts the same to stress and tension again. So in the fact of relieving that, you are able to alleviate many different disorders, but not everybody has the same problem. So they don't all react the same to their life or what's going on around them.
Yeah. So because you're talking about reflexology, which I've always just thought about as a great foot massage, but you're talking about reflexology as something related to relieving stress and tension and obviously helping health. And that's obviously very apropos to our show because, you know, we're all about looking at holistic health, how you as a practitioner help to create physical, mental, spiritual, emotional health. And so do you have any particular examples on some of those different?
You mean as a reaction to reflexology?
Yeah. Right, or clients that you've worked with, maybe on a...
Well, I have a client who had a major operation on their back, and in the course of recovery, were not able to urinate without catheterization, and the person came to me, and I was able to not immediately, but it took about 10 sessions where the client was able to urinate without any help. And this I thought that was a wonderful thing because of the stress of the operation on the person had no control, was not able to function properly. So, you know, it seemed like, wow, this is a wonderful thing that I was able to help this particular person. And, you know, that was just one of the things I've seen. Another was this particular client, when they got out of bed in the morning, had a terrible time putting weight on their feet. They weren't able to walk and it took quite a while for them to be able to put pressure on their feet. So I was being concerned with that. I not only did the total reflexology on the person, but I concentrated on trying to get the blood flow more
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
more
increasing the blood
increasing
flow. Yeah.
increasing the blood flow in their feet, and after about eight or the ninth session, they told me that they were able to get out of bed in the morning and walk without having this tremendous pain.
Right.
And I thought, well, geez, that's a wonderful thing. So,
Yeah,
each time that someone gives you a positive return or a positive feedback on your sessions, you tend to, that's like having someone pat you on the back and say, well, that's a wonderful thing. And you hope that each time you do reflexology on a client, that you're actually making them better, but in not all cases it's not a miracle of any kind. It's pure hard work, and it
Right.
needs to be taken seriously by not only the client but the practitioner.
Well, and what you're saying is also really important, I think, that in both these cases, obviously your work had a significant impact on their quality of life and their
True.
health.
Yes.
But it was certainly not after one session, and I think many times
No.
people might try something.
A lot of people think that this is a miracle and that only takes one session to have results, and it's really not true, because it takes depending on the severity of the problem, it may be more than one session a week. It may take two, but for shorter periods, for maybe only 10 or 15 minutes
Right.
for each session, but multiple sessions. Instead of one a week, it would be maybe 3 a week for shorter periods of time. And that all depends on what the problem is with the client themselves.
Yeah. So I want to look at this chart, this wonderful chart that you brought for us and
Okay.
for our viewers, because it does a really phenomenal job of showing how you work and how you do your
okay.
magic. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about it. And
Sure.
And as you get your pointer ready, when I look at reflexology and seeing that the whole body pretty much is reflected on your feet, right?
Correct.
Is this in any way related to Chinese medicine meridians, or not at all? Is it a completely different system?
There's it's relative in the way that the foot is divided into zones. There's with both feet there would be 10, but there's a zone 1 would be from the tip of the grand toe down, and zone 2, zone 3, each zone encompassing one of the toes, and they continue down. Also, the body is reflected on the foot from the tip of the toes to what we call the diaphragm line, which is the upper third of your body, and then from the diaphragm to the waistline here, that would be the middle third of your body, and the bottom portion from the waistline to your heel would be the lower portion of your body. So all these organs and glands that are in the center section or the mid section of your body are reflected here on the bottom of your foot, and your from your waistline down to your pelvic line would be your internal organs, your stomach and intestines and so forth. And the upper portion would be your brain, and your sinuses are on the tips of your toes. Your ears and your eyes are along the base of your toes. And this would be your cervicals along the this
so your
portion.
cervical spine.
Right, cervical portion of your spine, and then your thoracic here, and then your lumbar and your sacral in the bottom portion.
So then all of your spine is then along that inner ridge of your feet?
This would be your inner or your middle on both sides would be the spine is on the inside of your feet if you're looking at them that way. And this is your outside of your body.
Right.
Is reflected on the outer portion of your foot.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting because then, for example, people who have, say, sinus headaches or, have a lot of sinus congestion, they would massage
Well, no, it's
their
not.
toe or
This is
pressure?
reflexology is not massage. It's actually using the thumbs and fingers on the tips of your toes would be reflective of your sinuses in your head and your brain. So if you had problems with, say, migraine headaches or any of that, or just tightness in on your head, then by doing reflexology on the tips of your toes and from your grand toe all the way to your small toe,
Yeah.
that would be reflective of your brain.
So thank you for correcting me on that because you're saying, so it's not massaging. So if I were to do it myself, if I have a sinus headache and I'm at home at night, what would I do to my toes?
Well, actually, you would want to press them between your thumb and your index finger.
Okay.
And it's not rubbing, it's not massage, it's actual.
Just holding the pressure.
Right, holding pressure against it and rolling your finger across your toe would be more beneficial than just pressing in one spot. It's not like acupuncture or acupressure. It's more of a stimulation by rolling the finger across the toe.
Gotcha. So can we go back to the chart and see, because there are a couple other really important points, I think, like the sciatica, people with sciatica or sciatic pain. Can you show us like what that section
Sure.
is?
Typically, for someone who had problems with sciatic, we would work along this this portion of the back of the leg and stimulate this reflex, which relates to the sciatic nerves in your spine. Also, this is a sciatic reflection here on the bottom of the foot. So you can, by stimulating this reflex, it goes back to the sciatic nerves.
Yeah,
So it's just a reflection of the sciatic on the bottom of the foot.
yeah. And the other thing that's really interesting that I notice is that the right foot and the left foot aren't necessarily exactly the same. Like there's some organs that are reflected on the right foot and others that are
True.
on the left
Again,
foot.
it's back to placement of the organ within your body. So in this case here, the pancreas is more reflected on the bottom of the left foot, facing it from, again, looking at it from the bottom. And just a portion of it appears on the right foot. Whereas again, the stomach is again mostly on the right foot, and very little of it appears on the
So stomach on the left foot and
right,
a little,
right.
yeah.
Stomach's on the left, and a very small portion of it appears on the right. Again,
And the liver then is on the right foot.
correct.
Yeah.
So you can see that depicted here, and with the gallbladder, and the solar plexus appears on the center of the bottom of each foot.
Yeah.
So that's again, your internal organs loop around, and they're not just straight lines. They actually go in concentric circles, and they go from one foot into the other. Again, here's the ileocecal valve, which allows food to pass from the stomach into the intestine.
Yeah.
So that again is
It's reflective of where it is in your body, right?
correct.
So I'm wondering if, let's say, because this happened to me a couple years ago, that I was, going to bed and I was rubbing my feet and I found a really tender spot, and it was actually on my right foot, generally where the liver area is, and I thought, oh, I wonder if this is indicative of, I don't know, liver congestion or
Well,
something of the sort.
It very well could be, but again, depending on where you were or where you felt this tenderness on your foot, it could have been any number of different organs, not just the liver itself. So,
Right. So
Even
I
though
guess
they're all
my,
reflected on the bottom of your foot, it may have been any number of different
Right.
things and not,
yeah. Well, and I guess my question is, I could have worded it better, is if someone is touching their feet and there's a sore spot, is that a good indicator that maybe there's something that they can pay attention to, that the
Yes.
feet are speaking to them?
Correct. Your feet are telling you a story about your body. Now, whether it could be just as maybe you stepped on something, but
Right.
again, it could be something that in your internals that is being reflected on your foot as something that should be looked at a little more closely, and maybe even say you should work on it a little harder, or maybe you do or don't have a problem.
Right.
It's not indicative of having a illness by having a sore part on your foot. But then again, it could be something serious also. So you never
Yeah.
really know, and it's a good idea to pay attention to your body anyway.
Right.
You all know that.
So one of the things is I was thinking about speaking with you today, it got me wondering about foot health and thinking, well, if the feet are reflective of the body and if we can induce healing to the body through the feet, by helping
Correct, yes.
blood flow and all of this, is the opposite also true? If we, and I think about, some of the shoes that I wear or that women wear, things like stilettos or pointy shoes, that sort of thing that can affect foot health. Can that have an effect on health? Have you ever
Well,
found
I would be reluctant to say that
just like-
that could be a problem, and I'm not saying that it isn't, but I think it would be more actual foot health would be more of a podiatrist's
Yeah.
realm than I'm just looking at it from
Right.
a reflexologist point of view, where I'm looking at what the feet tell me and not what you can do to your feet.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a whole different aspect of the health
Yes.
modality. If you were to squeeze your foot
Yeah.
into a
Well, 'cause-
smaller shoe, then you're just doing damage to your foot, and
My foot. Well, I started wondering.
I don't
like,
know
oh,
if that would actually affect your internal organs, or I imagine it would at some point if you were to, because that's going to be reflected on your feet, what your organs are doing. So if you were to deform your foot, then who knows what that would do to your your whole physique. I
Yeah.
haven't-
Well, it just got me wondering
it
about that.
it is a quite of a quandary to, you say, well,
Yeah.
gee, am I hurting myself? Well, obviously you are, but in what way?
Yeah.
You're just hurting your foot, or you're hurting your entire body.
Right.
It could be either way.
Yeah. So, thinking about our viewers who might be hearing about reflexology for the first time and, hearing you speak about it for the first time, what would you say is for them, how might they know that they could do really well with reflexology and say, oh, I should give this a try?
Well, it's again, if you have not been able to get relief from normal medicine or whatever, then I would look into a holistic point and see maybe there is another way to help yourself, or I hesitate to say cure, but I say another way to a healthier lifestyle. Maybe reflexology might be the answer for you. I'm not saying that it is the answer, but
Right.
It's worth considering. If you haven't been able to find relief in other ways, then it might be a good idea to look into it. And you can go online and find the answer to many questions. And reflexology is just another way of out there that you could find relief.
Yeah.
So it's just And again, like I say, there's plenty of reference material out there to look at to see if this may be an answer for you. So don't be reluctant to go in search.
So, are there any other, just going back to the kind of holistic perspective of health, you know, I loved your two stories of significant, you know, physiological improvement. I just, and as I was telling you before we got started, I had my first reflexology appointment last week at a spa, and it was wonderful, and it was just so relaxing. So I'm wondering if you have other kind of favorite success stories that...
No, in fact, I have many, but I have a story that I'd like to say that I had a client who did not believe that reflexology was going to help. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not get a positive result because they did not believe. So if you go in, if it's like any modality, if you believe that it will help you, then you're probably going to have positive results. But if you don't believe that it's going to help, or it's just a lot of flim-flam or whatever, then you're never going to get any benefit from it because you're already predisposed in your mind that it's not going to help you.
Right.
So no matter what happens to you during that, it won't help. So again, there's good positive stories of reflexology helping, and then there's also the negative where it didn't do anything at all.
Right.
So, but it's all the attitude of the
Absolutely.
of the client.
It is absolutely the attitude. And so I know you also have some wonderful resources that you wanted to share with our viewers, and we have those up now. So can you tell us a little bit about them?
Okay. Well, again, we go back to Eunice Ingham, who began the Institute of Reflexology, the International Institute, and she wrote a couple different stories. Stories the feet are telling is one of them, and stories the feet can tell and have told. Now, again, her nephew, Dwight Byers, wrote Better Health with Foot Reflexology, and there's the list goes on and on. There's Reflexology, Art, Science, and History by Christine Issel. There's Asthma, Allergies, Lupus by Dr. Batman Sadi. Again, your body's many cries for water by Dr. Batman Sadi. Obesity, Cancer, and Depression by Dr. Batman Sadi. All these things are different resources that are available to the public. Anatomy and Physiology by Culver's Walter. Reflexology and Associated Aspects of Health by Adrian Seeger. Saving Your Hands by Ted Sansbury. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just fascinated by the title of this book that you have there, What My Feet Say About Me.
Oh yes, that's again, it's a reflexologist had done a study on what she saw when she looked at people's feet during a session, and it was quite interesting. That's Bobby Warren who wrote that book, and she's an active. She's on the board of the International Institute of Reflexology and is a practicing reflexologist.
Wonderful. Those all look like really wonderful books, and I know that the one you had on the previous page, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, is a wonderful resource as well.
You know, we tend to neglect the fact that we are very, we need to hydrate on a regular basis, and people tend to think that they don't drink enough water. And the truth is that, you should drink half your body weight in water, ounces every day. So if you weigh, say, 150 pounds, then you should drink 75 ounces of water on a daily basis. And again, it's a rule of thumb saying half your body weight in ounces,
Right.
so, and on a daily basis.
Wonderful. And then that last one there, the natural treatment of carpal tunnel syndrome. Sounds like another wonderful.
Yes,
resource
that's,
as well.
again, that was Dr. Wunderlich. That is treatment, once you have an operation for carpal tunnel, it's really no reversing that. You can't undo that
Right.
damage that the surgery does. But if you're able to work on
Treat it
a
before.
person before they have that operation, sometimes you can reverse the syndrome and make it, alleviate it quite a bit.
Right.
So
Sounds great.
it's just a thing of once you have surgery,
Yeah.
there's no turning back from that. There's
Probably
no saving it.
Something better to catch early and
Right,
treat early.
right.
Well, thank you so much, John, for being with us. It
Oh,
has
it's
been a real
Been my
fa-
pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and lovely. It was really interesting looking at your charts.
And then-
And thank you to our viewers for joining us as well. And we look forward to having you next week with another very special guest to have more holistically speaking chats. Take care.
Wow.